Okay, so let's talk about some community updates for our community. So right now, Mark is actually in Costa Rica, which is why we have Woofy, who's dropping in with us today. Awesome to have you here. He is in Costa Rica doing some medicine retreat, and then I am actually headed there next Thursday. And I'm going for more of business. We are going to meet with the Shawanawa tribe. Now, as you guys all know, 6% of all of our proceeds across all of our platforms go to the Shawanawa tribe. It helps to support this indigenous community. We have to give back for these indigenous medicines. So we do that. So I'm going to talk with them next week about bringing them back to the United States next year for ceremony so they can come serve their beautiful medicine. So it's quite an on-taking to bring them here. You know, there's about 6 of them that come and the translators and all the things. So it'll probably take about a year to plan the whole thing, but it's happening. You're going to come sit with us, right?
Oh my gosh, count me in. I will be there. I wish I could come to Costa Rica. You'll have to take so many pictures and videos, and we'll be sure to share those all with you guys as well.
We will. We're going to be coming live from the Shawanawa tribe. Mark is actually going to be coming live, I think on Saturday, but we'll keep you guys posted, or we might just video it. But he's going to be doing workshops with these guys, and it's Mana and Janaya. Mana is the leader of the Shawanawa tribe. He's the shaman, the medicine man, and then his wife Janaya, and just beautiful, incredible people. So we'll more to come from that. We could talk about our product of the month, Mama Dose, the 90-day. After our conversation about psychedelics right now, you might want to give us a call.
Yeah. The supplements are a beautiful way to incorporate these beautiful plant medicines that we hold so dear to our hearts and to your lives. And the magic settles in a really nice way with these 90 days, with all of the Mama Dose supplements.
I like how you say that. The magic settles in.
It does. And we invite you guys to experience that.
Absolutely.
Diving in. And what else? We have the SciCon convention coming up.
That's right. That's going to be in October 13th, that weekend. And it's going to be in Denver. Mark and I are not going to be able to go because his son is getting married that weekend. So we're going to be in Georgia that weekend. But I think Woofy's going to be there. McKenna's going to be there. McLean's going to be there because now we have a house in Colorado, Mama's house. So we've
Mama Dose is expanding. The mycelial connection is growing and stretching out. And now Mama Dose is in Colorado.
That's right. So we have our East Coast and our West Coast, and
Dude will be on the coast.
Yeah. It's very exciting. And I love how you said that mycelium because it's spreading and it's connecting together, which really reminds me of our guest today. Let's talk to her a little bit.
Yeah, Ixchel, who we had on the Mama Dose podcast today. What can I say? You guys are in for a treat. Ixchel is a mother, dancer, musician, ceremonialist, spiritual midwife, mentor, community builder. That's one of the things to look out for. That was one of the high points of our conversation, talking about the importance of community in the work that we do with these plants, and also just on our spiritual journeys, keeping that sense of community alive and experiencing ourselves from the views of others, and not hiding in our shadows is a really powerful piece of the journey that we're on. And she's also a permaculturalist and eternal optimist who is passionate about human potential. And she is one of the founders of the Yacumama Eco. It's just so much fun to say. Right?
It is fun. Yacumama.
Beautiful. Really, really beautiful. And I had no idea what it meant, which is something else you guys will find out. But yes, part of the Yacumama Eco Village in Costa Rica. And she's doing a lot of really beautiful work and making a lot of really beautiful prayers out there. And we got to drop in with her and hear her living prayer and hear her talk about her journey with these plants. And
she's a young lady, and she has been on this path and working with these plants for 30 years. And she's
Yeah.
young. I mean, I guess she's younger than I am. So she's been doing this for a long time. And, the biggest thing that she likes to talk about, she likes to talk about all this, and she's incredible, is the integration. And we
Mhm.
believe in integration. It is the most important part of any journey. Without it, that journey is just an experience. And it doesn't have to be a medicine journey. I mean, like she was talking about, life is ceremony.
Yeah.
And so integrating that ceremony into your life so you can change your life.
Yeah, it's huge. You hear about so many people. I'm going to have this big trip. I'm going to do this and you get so much from sitting with these medicines or maybe from a festival or from doing breath work or whatever it may be. But the reality is that we are human beings and we do have to go back into our world, whatever that looks like for us. It's different for all of us. And so the piece of integration is really fundamental in the conversation about these plant medicines, plant modalities, healing modalities, and this journey that we're all on together. And it's so beautiful connecting in community, with people who have such beautiful things to say and to share with us about this journey. So you
All
guys
over
are
the
in
world.
for a treat. Yeah, you guys are in for a treat.
Here we
Please
go.
welcome Ixchel to the Medicine with
Ixchel.
Metals podcast.
Okay, so we are with Ixchel. And, before we get into this great conversation, because we did meet yesterday, and I know this is just going to flow. We have so much to talk about. But just kind of introduce yourself and tell us how you got into this space. What brought you to where you are right now?
Hi. Hey, everybody. My name is Ixchel. I'm really happy to be here. And well, I arrived in the plant medicine space exactly 20 years ago. I was living in New York City at the time, and I got invited to my first ceremony, which was in a huge loft in Brooklyn with many people in it. And to this day, it was one of the most powerful ceremonies of my entire life. At the time, I had a really strong meditation practice, so I was literally able to sit and just like be a full antenna and receive the entire night. I didn't even move or get up to go to the bathroom one time in like 8 hours.
Wow. What was it like to drink medicine? And, if you don't mind telling us which medicine it was in New York City, that would be pretty wild.
That was my first ayahuasca ceremony. And
Wow.
yeah, I actually didn't feel so affected by the field of chaos that is New York. I was able to go really deep inside and just create a bubble around myself and time travel to many different places and, lifetimes
Wow.
and timelines of my own life.
Beautiful.
And how did it get and now you're in Costa Rica. That's where you're coming to live today. We can hear all the beautiful jungle behind you.
Yes. So shortly after that first ceremony, it's like when something is not really in your field, you don't know about it. And then once something comes into your field, it's everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
So, that's kind of how it was for me. Like all of a sudden, the plant medicine community was everywhere.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
Even
would
20
spend
years ago.
Yeah, it was pretty small and underground 20 years ago, but there was still a large community. I was spending a lot of time in Hawaii at that time. And then I went to Peru and I stayed in Peru and lived there for some time. And so, I was kind of really, and then everywhere I went in the whole world, I was connected to plant medicine community, really all over the world.
Mm.
And yeah, for many years, I'd been really praying. I saw the vision of creating this center and creating this eco village and community about 20 years ago. And I would see it in ceremony again and again and again. And it was just a matter of time before, everything aligned for it to come into physical manifestation. And so about 5 years ago, I was at a party and I met a friend and she was like, I just really want to support you. How can I support you? And I was like, well, my deepest prayer is I'm calling forth the land where I can anchor this vision to have an eco village with a foundation in plant medicine where we can welcome our indigenous elders from around the world and bring community together to celebrate life and remember who we truly are. And she took my hand and closed her eyes and started channeling. And she said, "It's in Costa Rica." And I got full electric rushes through my whole body. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's in Costa Rica." I didn't think it was in Costa Rica.
You thought it was in Peru.
Yeah, I mean, I had been to Costa Rica many times. I have friends who have medicine centers here that I had supported previously, and I just never got that deep feeling until then. And so we came, and yeah, very long story short is as soon as we arrived, we offered some tobacco at the ocean with a prayer and said, if we're meant to anchor roots here, if we're really meant to be here, make it crystal clear and very swift, because we literally had 5 days here at that time.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was crying. It was so powerful. And then all of these huge sea turtles started swimming around us.
Wow.
Like, wow, that, and they played with us for like 20 minutes. They were like going out into the waves and kind of like surfing. And then we got taken to the land that we are currently stewarding by a friend, and the land is on the Tortuguita River, which is the Little Turtle River, and the land was called the Tortuga Farm, the
Oh
turtle
my
farm.
gosh.
And so,
Wow.
it felt really clear that this was where we were meant to be, and it's taken a lot of miracles and really hard work to make it all happen, but here we are.
I love that it's like that mycelium. I mean, it just connects all of us and everything, and you find your path in there. And so I know Woofy's got a question for you, but let me ask you, the name is called Yacumama.
Yacumama.
Can you tell me how this name came about and what does it mean?
Well, interestingly, we have land partners, and our land partners have another project. And the wife wanted to call that project Yacumama, and the husband had a different name for it. And so we never heard about that. And when my partner was doing a vision quest, 4 days and no water, no sleep on the mountain, it came to him like a lightning bolt. It was like Yacumama is the name of the water, is the name of the land. And in Quechua, in the Quechuan language, it's the mother of the waters. It's the serpent guardian of the waters. So the story is that there was, the two serpents, like our DNA, dancing together in the beginning of creation, and one of them stayed on land, and she's Sachamama, the mother of the jungle, of the forest, and then one swam and became Yacumama, the mother of the waters, the guardian of the waters. And this land is really abundant in waters. We have springs and creek and river and waterfalls, and also an incredible view of the ocean. So it really feels like the right name.
Wow. I feel like
Sounds
I have
amazing.
whole body chills. What an incredible story. And it's so beautiful how, we don't always know the way things are going to happen. And a lot of the times, our minds can just go all over the place, and there can be so much of this feeling of struggle and strain, and how am I going to get this dream to manifest itself into reality? But just keeping that prayer alive in your heart, and having this trust in all of creation, and just continuing to walk your path. It's beautiful how things fall together.
Yeah, really. It's been that like absolute devotion of trust. We had no idea how we were going to make it happen. We didn't really have much money at all. And we have manifested so much support, in donations. We have a nonprofit. So, we've been planting trees. People are donating to the regeneration. We've had so many
Beautiful.
angels support us. And, I think a really big thing too is, when we have these visions and we're praying for things, that like manifesting it is one thing, but showing up to actually hold it and do the work and sustain it on a daily basis is a whole other level that has really humbled us to the core. like what it takes to steward, 100 acres of land. And this project it's absolutely massive. And so, it really feels like the spirit of the waters is constantly purifying us, constantly humbling us.
Wow.
And it's a beautiful process, but I would say it's definitely not easy.
Well, it's not easy, and I think that throughout our lives, universe, source, whatever one calls it for themselves, I think that's very personal, shows us the ways a lot, and we don't listen. We don't have the faith. We don't have the trust in ourself, in the message, in universe, in God, in whatever that is, and so we don't listen. So for me, when I had my first couple plant medicine experiences and I was shown, it was having that faith and listening to that and trusting in it instead of trying to bulldoze my way through it and do it in that divine timing and the way that it had to be done. When I went and drank ayahuasca for the first time, that Sunday we're all sitting around saying goodbye and somebody says, everybody comes out of their first ayahuasca journey and they say, the medicine told me I'm supposed to serve medicine. The medicine's lying. That's not what the medicine said to you. And I remember thinking that too, not that I was supposed to serve medicine, but how I'm supposed to be in this. I'm supposed to be involved in this. And what is that? And Dr. Scott of SoulQuest, he said, what is right today and whatever message you're receiving is going to be right in 6 months. And then when it's right in 6 months, it's going to be right 6 months after that. Don't go home, leave your husband, start over, do all these crazy things. Sit with it. Have faith and trust. And it sounds like that's exactly what you did.
That's really such important advice for, integration of it all. It's like we see the visions. Sometimes we see the visions that are, you know, years ahead. And, it takes patience and trust and faith to really know that, okay, if we keep seeing it and we keep aligning to it, then, eventually it's going to come into form.
It is. And it's that showing up and suiting up. Okay, well, here it is. Are you ready to do the work that's required to sustain and maintain? I love how you said that. Well, okay, let's talk about your place there. What is it that happens at this beautiful healing waters? Because I love that. I'm an Aquarius and water is my thing. So I go to water for all my healing.
Mm. Yeah, and it's interesting because the energy of nature, the energy of the waters and the land here takes care of so much of bringing people back into harmony and balance. When people come here from the city or from, different walks of life, like just being held by the energy of the mother, the mother of the waters, the earth mother, does so much of the work of bringing people back into their natural states, and I really feel that it's bringing us back to wholeness. It's like all the parts that have been fragmented through different traumatic experiences or places that we've abandoned ourselves or forgotten. It's like remembering, because we're always whole, we've always been whole, remembering that original innocence and blueprint. And so, yeah, a lot of the programs that we have here allow people to have, deep immersion in nature. And we work with plant medicines. We host indigenous tribes from, the Yawanawa from Brazil, the Wirarica from Mexico, the Shipibo from Peru. And, for me, my path has been also the path of yoga and meditation, dance and movement. So we weave together a lot of the things that help people tap into what's really happening in our bodies, our emotions through what's happening in our bodies, as well as the medicine. And then community is such a big part of it. Coming together in a space. Our deepest prayer is to create that field where people can just feel comfortable, where they can feel like they're at home, where there's no judgment, where all parts of them are welcome, like really all parts of them. And there's a space for that. There's a space for cathartic release. There's a space for, people to be wild and free. and really, so that there's no part that's being abandoned or neglected.
That's amazing. I mean, I think that a lot of people who are coming to these medicines, they're doing their research, right? And they're investigating where to go. And a lot of them, nature and immersion into nature is not part of their daily life. I mean, I talk to people who are from New York City, they've never been out of that city before. And so to come into a place like where you are there in Costa Rica, in and of itself is medicine all on its own. And to sit there and smell it and breathe it, I'm going to start crying because I'm going to be there next week and I just can't wait. There's something so magnificent about sitting and listening to what we can hear right now and that smell and all the senses that it brings. And it brings us back to remembering, and it brings our bodies back to remembering. Even if we were raised in the city, there's something so healing.
Primal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Primal. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. And there's something else you said, Ixchel, that was so beautiful. It reminded me of what one of my teachers said from the retreat where I actually found out about Yacumama. And he said something along the lines of, you came here and you came here for me to heal you, but I cannot heal you. I can only love you. And that love will be what heals you. And it's so beautiful to let that love be the guiding light and this beautiful kind of work that you've dedicated your life to.
Do you find it's hard for people to let go of that and to be able to be loved? That's the hardest part, I think. We don't feel we deserve love.
I find that when people come here into this field, it just like shatters all of those blockages. And, it's like you see the light coming back into people's eyes, and you see like the original innocence, the joy, like the childlike wonder coming back into people's eyes. And yeah, just like once that original innocence is there, then I feel like it's so much easier to just open and receive and be love.
That's another beautiful part about working with these plants. Um, the way that they just like, it's one thing for somebody to tell you everything is love, or that love is where you come from. There's nowhere you can go to be separate from that love, from universe, from source. But it's another thing to completely feel it, to completely be in it. And that's what these plants that you work with do. And it's so beautiful. And I wonder if you could speak about your relationship with ayahuasca and wachuma specifically, and the role that these beautiful plant allies have played in your life over the past couple decades.
Yeah, I've been working with ayahuasca and wachuma for the past 20 years. One of the cool things that I like to look at is the doctrine of signatures. And that's, how a plant looks can show you like what it's good for, how it works with you. And so when you look at the ayahuasca vine, there's two things that really become clear. Like one, it's like the umbilical cord, you know, and it's like the umbilical cord that connects you to the placenta that gives you life, that gives you nourishment. And so it's almost like it plugs you back directly into the energy of the mother. And, it's the energy of the divine mother, which is just universal love, and in that presence of universal love, all our shit comes up, all our fears and everything that's not love, all of the distortions and confusion comes up. And so, we get to have that experience held in the safe womb of the mother, so that, often if we're not resisting, we can see all those things and just let them drift away like clouds in the sky, and be held in that embrace. And it's really, as all about surrender. And I feel like when we can let go and trust that we're safe, and that it's safe enough to just completely be held in that love of the mother, that's when the doctoring can happen. It's like all the things that are out of harmony and alignment can just come back into the pure frequency of love, because that is our true nature. And in the yogic traditions, we say our true nature is Sat Chit Ananda, truth, pure consciousness, and bliss. And when we surrender back into that love, we have the opportunity to, just like that, in a moment. Like, it doesn't even have to be this big process. It can literally be like just like a chiropractic adjustment, just snapping us back directly into our true nature of just absolute truth, pure consciousness, and bliss. And, the other piece of the ayahuasca vine is that when we make the medicine, we pound the vine so that the bark comes off. And inside are these beautiful strands, and they're like the strands of our DNA. And so, what I've seen through like direct experience is that science, there's like so much of our DNA that they have no idea what it is, right? And they call it junk DNA. What's happening when we're working with the medicine is she is activating and connecting all of that ancient wisdom, the parts of our ancestors that know how to, communicate with animals, with the elements, that have the intuition that can heal with our hands, and create with our vision. And so, yeah, that's one of the most amazing things. Even if we're not aware of it, like, that's what's happening. Our DNA is getting upgraded.
So beautiful. And you talking about the doctoral signature just brought something back to me from my last experience with ayahuasca. It's so beautiful to hear you talking about the strands inside of the vine. I didn't know that it looked like that, but the last time I was sitting in ceremony, it felt like ayahuasca was combing through me, combing through me, like as if I was I had all of these tangles in my being and all of these knots, and she was combing through and releasing the tangles. And so it's beautiful to hear you kind of bring that to light.
So you also work with Yacumama, which is San Pedro. It's the cactus. This medicine is such a beautiful medicine. Ayahuasca is the grandmother. San Pedro is referred to as the grandfather. You talk about these two medicines working beautifully together. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. And so, when we look at the Yacumama cactus, it's like this beautiful phallus. It's like the energy of the divine masculine, where, the ayahuasca, and, of course, like, these are just projections that we're putting on these plants. Of course, they're beyond masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
But, the Yacumama cactus looks like this beautiful phallus, which is like the Shiva lingam. And so it really brings, the energy of like masculine direction and focus and illumination. It's like, very much connected to the sun, and bringing that solar energy as a cactus. And, one of the beautiful things that I love to share is that Wachuma, the traditional indigenous name, literally means cutting off the head. So it's like cutting off the mind, the ego, the illusion of separation, and bringing us directly back into our heart and into our pure consciousness and the truth. And then, when the colonialists, the conquistadores, came to South America, they named it San Pedro for Saint Peter, who holds the keys to the gates of heaven, because it's a medicine that allows us to open that frequency of the heart. And literally, heaven is a frequency that we can create here on earth when we are in that place of the heart. And in the retreats where we work with both medicines together, it's such a beautiful yin and yang experience, because like we, go deep into the womb of the mother with ayahuasca. And, we're, in a community and collective experience, but it's very much an individual experience as well. And, Wachuma San Pedro is also a much longer ceremony. It's more like a 12-hour ceremony. So oftentimes we start during the day. When you work with San Pedro in the Andes Mountains, it's a hike. You're going on a pilgrimage to make offerings at different locations, at different places, and you're like deeply communing with the land, I feel like it activates like the inner like mountain goats, like gives you that strength and that power. And here we also do hikes and land, go to the river sometimes. And it's definitely a lot more about community coming together at different times. And it also, because it's a solar energy, it works really well with the fire. And so it's really beautiful to work with the fire at night, and to also give people the opportunity to pray as a community. A lot of people have different indoctrination that they've received and have resistance to prayer. But one of the most powerful parts of the ceremony, I feel, is when people get to pray out loud for their lives, for their loved ones, for the world that they wish to see. And it's just, people's prayers are such a doorway into their soul. And so it creates this incredible sense of unity and connection when you really get to know somebody worthrough their prayers, through what they're standing for, what's really important to them in life. And so, yeah, the two medicines work so well together.
I have been on a San Pedro, a Wachuma walk, and it was just, it was such a, it was very different than any other. I mean, it is in the classifications of a psychedelic, but it was unlike anything I'd ever felt. If I was to imagine what lucid dreaming was like, I would imagine that would be what it is, because it's a very long journey, but it's not like you're in the Aya journey for 12 hours. It's very much you can walk, you can talk. And at some points I felt like, oh, well, I guess this is over, this part of it. And then 5 minutes later, I'd be rolling back into it. It was such we were such a community together, whereas the Aya, we're individual on our mats and we're processing our individual journeys. Whereas this, we were together. We were a unit. It was very cool experience.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Wachuma hike that I experienced was actually in the Andes, and it was so beautiful. It's just like you said, Ixchel, you go up into one spot, and we got to a waterfall, and we stopped there and we drank some Wachuma, and we make our offerings to the waterfall and our offerings to Oshun. And, we like just sit with the land and sit with the medicine. And then like, just as you're kind of getting comfortable, they're like, all right, to the next place. And we get to this place and it's like a portal and it's so beautiful. And it was actually on that Wachuma hike. Like it really did strike me at first as kind of a mild medicine, but then in the experience you realize how powerful it is, because it's like you're so in your heart, and so with the land and so just connected to everything. And I really think that the hike, it happened kind of towards the end of the retreat, and it was like this culmination of all of the work that we did. The Wachuma had been sitting under the altar that we were praying over, and all of the ayahuasca ceremony. So it was kind of like, taking in so much of that energy. And it was on that Wachuma hike during the time I had been like struggling with a lot of feelings of unworthiness and all of these things connected to lack. And it's just, there was so much there, and so much of this healing had happened like throughout the whole retreat. But there on that Wachuma hike, when we finally got to the summit, just how beautiful of an experience that it was, and all of the connection, both from the community that we were with and from all of the elements and all of the land. It finally like settled into me, like what a crazy experience, not just only this experience, but my life in general. And wow, I can't believe that I'm experiencing something like this and that I'm worthy of something like this. And it was like actually in that moment there with the Wachuma that I'm like, wow, I actually am worthy, and it was like the only time of the retreat that I broke down into tears, and it was just so powerful, so unforgettable. So yeah, really beautiful medicine.
Beautiful. Yeah, I can see that moment.
I can too.
I feel like I've seen hundreds of those moments. And it's so interesting that you share that, because that's really one thing that I've tracked in this, 20-year journey with the medicines, that no matter where I go, any place on the planet, working with people from, all different religious backgrounds, financial backgrounds, every single human being is dealing with the same core wounds, or what I call viral beliefs.
Mm.
Feeling not worthy, not lovable, not doing it right, or not doing it good enough. And it's just like, no matter who we are, when we get stripped away to the core, that is the not self. That is the fragmentation. And what I've seen is that, we know that our operating system for life gets created from the age of 0 to 7. And no matter, like, if people grew up as millionaires, or like, in the slums of the slums, like, in some way, shape, or form, people have these experiences that make them decide from that childlike consciousness that they're not worthy, that they're not lovable. And it's so profound to see the moment where that, like, distortion clears.
Mhm.
And there's like a direct experience of, I am love. How could I ever think that I'm not lovable, when who I am is the very essence of love?
Yeah.
And the separateness, understanding that we are one and not
Mhm.
separate.
Exactly. That I think you might have mentioned something before, where it's like, yeah, these things on a mental level, and then when you have the experience with the medicine, and it's like a tangible transmission, it's like an imprint of unity, where that separateness, it's just like, you start to laugh at, like, how much separateness you
How
you you
ridiculous
allow
we
and
are.
create in life, when it's just like that direct transmission of unity.
Mm.
How do you hold on to that? And it kind of brings me to the I mean, we're gonna have to have you back, because we have so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I just relate to so much. But I want to talk about integration before we wrap this up. But what I want to know, and this sort of brings it together, is, okay, somebody leaves that, Wolfie leaves the Andes, somebody leaves Costa Rica, and they're feeling that together, that love, not ego or heart, all the things. And then you get home and you slowly, right? You
Ugh.
slowly. How do you hold on to that love and that undividedness?
I'm so happy you asked that, because I was just going to ask the same thing. That living prayer, I can really feel it and hear it and see it in you, Ixchel. So yeah, I'm so curious. How do you tell us?
Yeah. Well, that's the question I've been asking myself as well. And I feel like I've been in this anthropological study over the
Yeah.
past 20 years, of
Mhm.
like really looking at what works, and why are humans so forgetful, and why is it so hard to hold on to that for many people. What's the process? And this is a really huge topic with multifaceted answers. And I'll try to condense as much as I can. I feel like the number one thing is community. When we look at indigenous tribes that work with medicine, and I ask them about integration. It's like, integration is my main passion right now. That's like what I'm feeling called. It's one of those missions that I received directly from the medicines. Like, okay, you really want to change the world? Like, there's millions of people working with psychedelics and plant medicine that have almost zero tools to keep this connection of the heart and unity. Um, and so, when we look at tribes, I ask tribal leaders all the time, like, okay, what can we suggest to people for integration? And they're like, integration? What's that? It's not part of how they work with the medicine, because they don't need to. When
Right.
you're living in a tribe, it's just your daily life.
You're
Everybody that
living
you're in
integration.
ceremony with, you're
Yes.
living in. And
Life
so,
is ceremony.
exactly. And
Yes.
so that's the thing, is how can we create life as ceremony? And weaving that thread of connection is one of the most important parts. And so, we have integration calls with groups. The most powerful that I've seen is when people are in the same location, and can really stay together. And, one thing that I've started doing is appointing integration ambassadors from each group, like the person that's going to be like, hey, let's meet up. Let's, come together and really, like, create that continuity of connection. And then, of course, wherever people go, it's about them, like, being the anchor and creating circles inside of their own communities to come and do potlucks and, medicine song circles and, just sharing circles and, whatever they feel inspired to hold. And so I think that, being together is one of the most important things, because, when we're being seen by other people, we can't isolate and be in those stories as much, when people are there, like, reflecting to us exactly how we're being. And so that is really one of the most important, simple, but maybe not so easy for everybody all the time ways. Um, and there's structure that's needed. And so in the integration program that I have coming up, creating structure for people where, you know you're doing a daily practice, and it's something that you love. It's not something that's like, like, requires incredible discipline and is a chore. It's something that you love, that feels amazing, like putting your favorite songs on and dancing around the house and just, like, getting into your body and getting into the frequency of joy and connection. And so, it does require structure. The main thing that I have found to be what I feel like has cracked the code to all of this is subconscious reprogramming. Because, as we talked about, from the ages of 0 to 7, our subconscious was imprinted with all kinds of things from observing the world around us, and also created those stories. It's like, you want your mom's attention, your mom is busy and she tells you to go and play with yourself or do something else. Like, the consciousness of a child says, I'm not worthy of her love. And that becomes, it happens again and again, and it becomes something that's just programmed. I'm not worthy of her love. Maybe I need to be really loud and, like, act out in order to get her love and attention. Or maybe I need to be a good girl to, finally be worthy of her love, or, whatever it is that we've created inside of that childlike consciousness. And those programs are so deep in the subconscious that it takes working with how the brain works, like really working with neuroscience to be able to tap in, break that pattern, and create a new energetic imprint, an energetic imprint of safety, of liberation, of being worthy, of being lovable. And so that's something I've been studying, that I really love geeking out on. And, and it's actually not that complicated. But there's different practices that you can do. And that's, like, something that I'm going to be sharing with people. So it's going to be like a live program for 40 days. 40 days was what they say is required to change a habit.
Right.
It's also, like, a spiritual number for, your sadhana, your spiritual practice. So do something for 40 days is what really creates a change. So yeah, we're going to be doing a lot of subconscious reprogramming, and having structure where we come together and we just unpack and unravel and unwind all of these things to.
Can anybody join this course? Can you talk a little bit about it, where they can find it?
Yeah, it can be, anybody who's done any ceremony anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's also for just integrating peak experiences, people going to Burning Man, people going to a festival, you have your world absolutely turned upside down. I remember I brought my brother, who is very different than me, to Beloved Festival one time. It's a beautiful festival that doesn't happen anymore, but it used to happen in the forest in Oregon. And he had his world completely turned upside down. He was, we were sitting by the fire on mushrooms, having deep conversations about the nature of the universe and,
Mhm.
our upbringing and our parents and all the traumas. And, he went so deep. And then he went back to New York and he was just like, I have no idea how to integrate that into my life. And so I'm just going to put it over there and just keep doing things as I've been doing them because it's just like way too confronting for me. And so, it could be, anybody that has like people are even having like really profound opening experiences in breath work.
Mhm. Oh,
And so,
yes.
yeah. And so, it's really for anybody to join. And then I'm going to have it be also a structure where people can do it in their own time after this. And so, and I'm, bringing on a lot of amazing guest teachers. There's recorded practices that people can do, like breathwork ceremonies that people can do to like come back to that original innocence of knowing themselves as pure love and healing all the fractures of the times where we've been rejected and abandoned and, created that story of not being lovable. So, a lot of it is also somatic practices because, everything is in the body.
Everything. Everything's in
Wow.
the body. This is amazing.
Mhm.
Before we wrap it up, and we would love to have you back. I never feel like there's enough time in one conversation, and so we would love to have you back and talk again. But can you tell us where we can find you, where we can find the course? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah. Well, I guess we can share some links.
Okay.
But, I'm here at Yacumama, which is the community center that I steward here. And, we welcome people here throughout the year to the different immersions that we have. We also have events like right now we're doing dances around the fire in our open air shala. And it's a really healing experience, a very primal experience to come together and dance around the fire. Um, and it's also a place where facilitators can host groups. And right now is in Costa Rica, it's what we call the green season. It's the rainy season, so we even have space for people to come and live in all the amazing casitas that we have on the land. And so, yeah, it's called Yacumama Eco Village on Instagram, and I can share the links. And then my personal work, I have a website called Living Wisdom, livingwisdom.one. And so I'll share the links on there. And I work with people one-on-one as well in, mentorship, coaching, integration, and also doing some group containers like this integration program, which I'm so excited about because it's like one of those things where Spirit's been telling me to do it for years, like, just emphasizing integration, and I'm finally taking the time to focus on it. So it feels exciting.
Well, I appreciate your desire for the integration. Mark and I started the plant medicine path originally for information, education, and most importantly, integration of plant medicines and their therapies and other modalities. I mean, we didn't talk about breath work. We haven't talked about other things that, we'll get into that next conversation. But the whole point is not to keep going back to the medicine, right? And we all know people who just every weekend or every other weekend, and that is not the point. The point is to integrate because you want to change your life. You want to change your life. And without integration, it's just an experience. Thank you so much for what you do. Wolfie, thank you for guest hosting with me today. My husband, Mark, he is down in Costa Rica right now in ceremony. And I'm going to be headed down there next week to join him. And we're going to be sitting with our tribe, the Shawanawa tribe. Thank you for the work you're doing. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ixchel. So beautiful dropping in with you into the space and seeing how your prayer shows up in you and just in your being. And your being is just medicine in itself. So it's been lovely.
Mm.
And count me in for some of those offerings because, yeah, we'll be seeing each other again, I'm sure.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Thank you, ladies, so much for your work. So many blessings for what you're doing. It's so important. So important, this work of integrations. I really feel like this is how we're going to shift what's happening on the planet. It's like, this many people coming to the medicine, having the tools to really change their lives.
People are
going to
waking up.
massive ripples.
Don't you feel like people are really waking up and starting to understand that? They're just starting to understand. People are waking up. I mean, from where we are, I know we keep trying to end. I just love talking to you. From where we are today, right? From where we were, from where I was 5 years ago when I went to my first ayahuasca ceremony retreat weekend. It's amazing. I mean, I remember even 5 years ago, I couldn't find anything. I mean, I had to scour the internet, scour, find everything I could. And now it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're here to bring the ethical information to you. And thank you. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you for your work.